Hello. ZGALA, the art angel here. You can call me Auntie Angel if you like. I want to talk about little steps and quantum leaps today. I'm working on a book called The Shift. I've been working on it for about a year. In actuality, I've been working on it in my mind for even longer than that. And the chapter that I'm getting ready to edit is about atomic habits and quantum leaps. And Atomic Habits is the title of a best-selling book by James Clear. And in that book, he talks a lot about taking those little steps, or about how it's the little things that we do every day that add up to the totality of our life. And I agree with that mindset very much. And I also want to combine that with the idea of quantum leaps, which might sound esoteric, but really comes from physics and the way that electrons, when they are circling around a nucleus, sometimes expand into a different energetic state in a sudden way. So quantum actually means very small, but a quantum leap is where those very small particles make a leap to a different energetic state. And for me, this is a key to the shift, or making a better life, or overcoming overwhelm and becoming more of a master of our own lives, which is what my book, The Shift, is about. So I want to dive more into that topic, see if I can untangle it a little bit in a coherent way. So Atomic Habits, the book by James Clear, talks about how you do one thing is how you do everything to an extent. And so focusing on those little habits, those little steps, is a great way to create a bigger grand total. And as I mentioned, I totally agree with that. And I struggle with that myself sometimes. In my mind, I tend to do what I think a lot of us do, which is think about where I am here and think about where I want to be, and notice this big gap between the two, and think that I need to make a big leap or a big change. And while sometimes that can help or be true, usually the better way to go about it is in those little steps. So, for example, all around me in this living room is a lot of clutter, which has slowly been accumulating, and that's symbolic of the way I tend to run my greater life, my whole life in grand total. And if I just think about making a big leap and doing a big cleanup, while that can be useful, especially I think there's a lot to the idea of spring cleaning, which is coming up on that time, and maybe fall, a seasonal big clean, that's certainly a good habit to be in. However, if I can bring it down a few notches and focus on, how about just clean up that little area there, that will often build momentum, and it will often reverberate in a bigger way. And also, a lot of times the thought of doing the big thing can be overwhelming. We can feel like we don't know where to start. So bringing it down to a more practical small step is a great strategy for accomplishing big things. Do one little thing at a time. And I'm certainly not the first to come up with this idea. I mentioned James Clear's book, but there have been many throughout human history. Many a great wise person has come to the same conclusion, that it's best to focus on little steps, focus on the next step in your process, and not get overwhelmed by how you can't see all the steps or how big some of the steps are. And when we focus on that gap, the big gap between where we are and where we want to be, a lot of times it can feel overwhelming, and we get that analysis paralysis. We can shut down. I tend to shut down sometimes when I look at the distance of that big gap. Now I want to juxtapose all of that with this idea of a quantum leap. And as I mentioned, quantum has to do with small particles, technically, and in a quantum leap on a cellular or a atomic level, that is when electrons make a leap. So electrons will be circling around a nucleus, if you're familiar at all with some I believe that's still in the realm of physics. In any case, in an atom or in a molecule, there will be electrons, a certain number of electrons spinning around a nucleus. And when they jump to a higher state, which can be is generally because of the other molecules around them, whether they're reactive or similar and stabilizing, sometimes those electrons will start to circle in a different orbit and further out from that nucleus. And I like to use that analogy in my own thinking about raising my own energetic state. So when let's just take the example of cleaning up clutter. And if I take it from a closer into the nucleus framework and think, oh, I really need to do that because it's in my way or it's bothering me, that's fine. That can be a functional way of getting things done. However, if I can make a quantum leap, so to speak, in my own being and take it from a different energetic state, so I can end up taking the same action essentially, but with a different energy. So instead of thinking I need to do that because otherwise it's in my way, I could be thinking I get to do that because I'm lucky to have so much stuff, or I want to do that because it's going to help me manage all this abundance that I have. I'm just real-time brainstorming ideas here about how to articulate this, but hopefully the idea of how we can come from a low vibrating, smaller self energetic state, or we can expand into a higher vibrating, more expansive energetic state and do the same things, but have a more powerful outcome. I don't know if that's making sense, but I'm gonna keep going with it and see where we end up. So if as I intend to, clear up some clutter in this room from a lower vibrating state, I might only get a little of it done, and it might not feel that great in my body while I'm doing it, or it might feel good, but it might tire me out. It might feel like, I had to do some more chores, as opposed to if I can do it from this higher energetic state where I see that it's part of a bigger picture, where I see that I am lucky to be able to have the energy to take care of my stuff, to have so much stuff, to have a bigger framework in mind that I am not only cultivating my own personal sphere of influence, let's call it, or sphere of awareness, I am also adding to a greater total sphere of awareness among all of humanity. And when I come at it from that framework, I can do the same exact small action, but feel much, much better about it in my body and actually gain positive momentum for doing more little steps. And often, I don't know if you're familiar with flow state. If you're not, check into it, and I'll be talking more about it in the future. But flow state has been shown, there's lots of names for it. It used to be called like in the pocket or in the zone. But when we're in that higher energetic state and taking actions, we often can accomplish 10 times or even 100 times more in the same amount of time space. And so my intention with my book and in my own personal life, because I'm writing the book both based on my life and hoping to positively influence my own life, as one does, I think when I can pause, as I'm sort of doing now, and check in with my own energetic state before I take those small actions. And hopefully with practice that comes more naturally and doesn't take such a long pause or such a deliberation. Then I can, again, take the same small actions, for example, clearing the clutter in a section of a room, and that can build momentum, build energy, and lead to many more small actions that total up to a greater step, a greater action, and actually also total up to me being like practiced in that higher energetic state, as opposed to continuing to sort of grind away in that lower energetic state, which again is perhaps probably better than taking no action, but is just a lower state, a lower energetic state, less rewarding and less productive in the whole grand scheme of things. I hope that made some sense. Let me know what you think of it. As I mentioned, I'm just real-time riffing about what I'm writing about and hoping to get better at articulating these ideas for myself and for you. If you're interested in my book, it should be out at some point in the future. I hopefully have a link to my email or my email in my description down here somewhere. And if you want to sign up on my email list to get notifications about the book, or you want to just check out some of my other work, I have some books already on Amazon that are really about completely different things, but still mine, from me, from my own varying energetic states. Mostly I would love to hear what this little riff has sparked in you, what kind of thoughts you're having, whether they're resistant and you want to push back on what I'm saying, or whether you're in agreement, or whether I've sparked some inspiration or some positive thoughts. Whatever it is, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. Please do like and subscribe, because that helps me out a lot. And also, above and beyond all else, stay curious, stay courageous. If you can, get more fit and be more free, because we're all in this together. I'm ZGALA, the Art Angel. You can call me Auntie Angel, as I mentioned. And I hope you enjoy a beautiful day. I thank you for being you, and I thank you for letting me be me. And until next time, I'll be seeing you soon. Ciao for now, and peace.